In the Age of Myth, the Child of Day and the Child of Night both despised each other. The fight they have been in since that age has now passed down to the humans, and it rages on. We see a clown villain named Ralph crashing on the ground with his move, Death Ball. Ha ha ball, using a circus ball and causing destruction in the city with juggling pin shots. The police trembling in front of him proves to be useless. The villains working under him start robbing banks and civilians. We see a school bus rushing in as a means for their escape. One of the bandits takes the governor's wife and kid hostage. It is then explained there are two kinds of people with special abilities. Those who commit crimes based on their desires. They are the descendants of the Child of Night, also called villains. Just then, we see the masked bus driver grabs the bandit and throws him through the bus window. Ralph, the clown, is surprised. It is then further explained that those who fight against the villains are the descendants of the Child of Day. People call them psychers. The bus driver takes off the mask. We see they both know each other, and it's been a year since their last encounter. The name of this guy is Cassian. A ball of fire generates in his hands as he plans to annihilate them once and for all. Next, we see at the Lampus, Washington office, Cassian is suspended by Director Schiller. She claims due to his recklessness, Ralph got away, and the public turned their backs on psychers. After leaving the office, Ralph gets a call from Jeff, who asks Cassian to come to Rhodes in Greece. Cassian remembers it has been 6 months since he met Jeff and remembers a time back at the HC orphanage having a good time with him. After waiting for him, Jeff showed up badly injured. Jeff gives Cassian a necklace and asks him to run away, but just then, a mysterious man shows up and beheads Jeff. A furious Cassian endlessly follows the mysterious man. It is then revealed that the mysterious man is actually Jack, a psyker, accompanied by Lyra, another psyker. They claim Jeff had killed a fellow psyker and was a traitor, which is why he had to be taken care of. Cassian decides to fight them, but both of them are too much for him to handle. Badly injured, he jumps into the water wanting a second chance to avenge his friend. Just then, his necklace glows, and the next thing we see is a boy in a toilet wearing the same necklace confused. The boy is actually shown to be Cassian in a different body. He remembers the memories of the boy whose body he was in, as well as his own memories. He was in Korea. Cassian was very confused and had many questions, but just then, something came out from his necklace. It was an ancient soul known as Moros. He explains to Cassian that he had brought him back to life and that Jeff had given him this necklace for his safety. He also explains that Jeff was looking for a sword known as Mark, the Sword of Annihilation, an ancient sword made during the War of Myth. Cassian then sees on his phone that he was framed for killing Jeff. It is shown he becomes so angry that he transforms. Super Saiyan vibes. Meanwhile, it is shown that a group of bullies had actually killed the boy named Gangu, who is now Cassian in a toilet. After knowing he isn't dead, they plan on picking on him again. Some next-level messed-up bullies. Next, we see Cassian hiding on a rooftop. Moros explains that he was supposed to die, but his reincarnation had altered his destiny. He had now turned into a villain with the potential to bring about the apocalypse. Losing control of his emotions, Cassian is even madder. Moros asks him to calm down as his power comes in response to his emotions, like villains. He further explains that Jeff wanted him to live on and find the Sword of Annihilation with him. Just then, we see the group of bullies approaching Cassian. Thinking of him as the weak boy they used to bully, one of them attacks Cassian but ends up getting knocked out cold. Another one of them ends up in the same way. The last one, the leader, smiles and prepares to attack Cassian. Cassian starts beating the hell out of him. Just when things were about to get serious, a psyker Ukon interrupted the fight. He said that it was enough beating for the bully. Just then, Cassian attacked him too. However, the skilled psyker blocked his attacks and countered them. Moros then told Cassian that taking him head-on would be dangerous, as he is powerful. Uchon then stopped and said that fighting will bring no good. Uchon gives him a bandage and Cassian leaves. We then see that all the credentials of Cassian as a psyker had been deleted. Moros asks him to transform by channeling his anger so that he can analyze his power. Meanwhile, the psyker trainee Uchon along with Daewong Lee, another psyker, is seen in pursuit of a villain called Blaster. Uchon plans on destroying all the villains from the face of this earth. Moros shows Cassian his full bio done by power analysis. He reveals to him his powers of healing and shadow slicer along with a hidden skill. Cassian uses a shadow slicer, which surprised Moros with how quickly he adapted to it. Moros is starting to see what Jeff saw in Cassian. Cassian decides to head to Gangu's home because he felt guilty of reincarnating in his body. Just then, an explosion occurs in a nearby building. Cassian learns that the villain who caused this explosion has taken a mother and a child hostage. He decides to fight the villain, but Moros reminded him that since he is also a villain now, it is forbidden for him to attack other villains. Ignoring the consequences, Cassian still wanted to protect the mother and child. Seeing his warm and kind heart, Moro sees why Jeff trusted him, and now Moro supports Cassian too. We see that Blaster the bomber had held a mother and a child hostage, placing bombs on them. His twisted plans are to make them explode and enjoy the fireworks. Meanwhile, Uchan is informed of the situation. Just when the blaster was about to obliterate the mother, Cassian comes in through a wall and punches the hell out of the blaster. He sends him flying. However, the sneaky blaster planted a bomb on Cassian, and it explodes. Thinking Cassian was dealt with, Blaster was about to kill the hostages. But suddenly, the Shadow Slicer cuts his hand off. Cassian came in rushing and obliterated him with punches. Cassian rages and keeps on punching him, losing all sense of control. Moro shouts and brings him back to his senses. He explains if Cassian had not regained consciousness, he would have become a full-fledged villain run by his desire. Cassian goes to help the hostages, who are trembling in fear. Next, we see the police and psychers arrive at the scene to investigate. They laugh at the idea that a villain saved someone. Uchan is seen analyzing the situation. Meanwhile, Cassian receives a text from Gangu's sister for dinner. He heads home. Meanwhile, at the office, the psychers are shocked to see the CCTV footage of a villain saving the hostages. Back at home, it is shown that Cassian remembers his time at the orphanage looking at the dinner table. Remembering Jeff, he eats his dinner. The next morning, Cassian wakes up and prepares to go to school. Before leaving, he meets Yuri, Gangu's sister. She gives him a debit card Gangu had asked for. Cassian now leaves for school. As he enters his class, he scares the bully he beat up and asks him about his seat. Meanwhile, some students are heard talking about the villain fight last night, the one Cassian was involved in. The students also discuss the serial killings that are happening. They claim that the driver is a serial killer and that he rules the Vil Zone in Gaddam. A Vil Zone is an area for villains. Meanwhile, the leader of the bullies whom Cassian beat is seen paying a guy named Daegu to hunt Cassian. Next, we see Cassian is approached by Uchan. He asks for his name and about his wound from their fight. Although it had healed with his powers, Cassian was smart to put a bandage on it before heading to school. Cassian tells him his name is Gangu and leaves. Next, we see that Cassian is being followed by one of the bullies he beat. The bully is seen exposing his location to Daegu. Cassian heads into the Vil Zone and the group of bullies follow him there. Cassian shows up to them and a fight may unfold. Meanwhile, from a CCTV camera, a person is watching these new visitors in the Vil Zone. Daegu warns Cassian and tells him to give up. He closes in on Cassian, and just then, Cassian pokes his fingers in Daegu's eyes and slams him hard into the wall. Another bully tries to attack him, but he is also sent flying by Cassian. Daegu gets up and forms a new stance. It is the Muay Thai style. It is then revealed in a flashback that Cassian, although was a fire user in his time as a psyker, he was also never beaten in close combat. Cassian obliterates Daegu, and just then, the villain spectating the fight appears. He is no other than Driver, not a cool villain named BTW. Next, we see the bullies running away in fear of Driver. Cassian is approached by him. He explains how he had come to rescue him because he thought he was in trouble, but the situation was quite the opposite. Cassian said he didn't ask for his help. Driver intimidated him by faking an attack, but Cassian remained cool. He ignores him and goes into an alley. He then asks Moros to analyze Driver's powers and tells him that the only way to get stronger is to fight strong opponents. Cassian makes a surprise attack on Driver, but he dodges it easily. The Driver then counters with his attack, Driver Beam. A huge blast is seen. Cassian easily blocks the beam. Admiring his strength, Driver lets loose and attacks seriously. Moros tells Cassian that the Driver's magic points are over 1,000, triple the amount Cassian has. Still, Cassian is fighting with determination. Driver is amazed as Cassian easily evades every attack of his. Cassian stops his attack with one hand. He rushes forward and lands a strike on the Driver. Just when the Driver was shocked by his strength, more villains join in. Crow, Red-Eye, and Blackhand join their boss. They are shocked to see their boss struggling against a kid. Driver then asks Cassian why he is attacking him. Cassian explains the story of the serial killings. To his surprise, the Driver says he is not that killer. Just then, Blackhand attacks Cassian from behind. Cassian easily counters him and knocks him out unconscious. The villains are surprised. Cassian feels dizzy. The Driver explains he had used too much of his magical power. The Driver makes a deal with Cassian. He gives him a magical stone to increase his powers. In exchange, he asks him to hunt down the actual serial killer. After consuming the magic stone, a huge surge of energy comes into Cassian, and he feels more powerful. Next, we see Cassian asks Moros to check his new magic power. It was now 350. Cassian is disappointed, however. Moros explains how even the purest stones only give a 5, 10 increase, and that he is a spoiled, ungrateful brat. Cassian also unlocks a new hidden skill known as Magic Stone Extraction. He can extract magic stones from legendary weapons now. Meanwhile, Daeung Lee and Uchon are having lunch. Daewon shows him his new sword infused with 2 magic stones. They also discuss the serial killer and Cassian. Next, we see Uchon's sister Naeum Kim coming out of her model shoot. Although she was on curfew, her friend insisted she go to the arcade. However, a mysterious person sets his eyes on them. Cassian was now trying to locate the serial killer. Moros reminded him of the device the driver gave him. It was to remain in contact and exchange information. Cassian, because of his pride, refused to use it. Meanwhile, the girl at the arcade with Naeun shares that she had seen the serial killer once while killing. Naeun takes her and runs out, but they are trapped. The villain called Blood Rain appeared in front of them. Cassian receives a message on his device.
What happens next? Subscribe for part 2.